Star System PvP was for a very long time some sort of a shrouded art. In the early days, people didn't know the metas, and those that discovered them didn't share them. Then slowly, content creators stepped forward to pull back the shrouds on the fundamentals of 6th Degree of Freedom fight. I am not saying this to glorify YouTubers or make us seem like heroes bringing fire to the people. I'm saying this because I want to make one thing very clear. I am standing on the shoulders of giants. None of this knowledge I discovered myself. I found it online or in training with other pilots, and I practiced it until my knowledge became muscle memory. I am not a top-level pilot. I am a journeyman, still on my journey to become better. But I can attempt to take all of this knowledge that I have gained from hours of YouTube tutorials and one-on-one trainings and distill it down as best I can to pass it on. If you have seen videos from Virgil, Jonathan Winters, and Avenger One, you will see their teachings in here. And I own this fully as it was their videos that I watched. I am linking all of their channels down below in the description, even though Avenger One is now retired, so if you want more, please check it out from the sources that taught me. Now, onto the video. I will be breaking it up into 8 sections. I will be timestamped and chaptered below, but so you know what is coming, I will briefly state each chapter now. Game settings, crucial UI elements, coupled versus decoupled, passive evasion, merging, Pip Control, range control, and the rule of halves, active evasion, boost, speed walls, and ship exhaustion. This is going to be a long video. This is basically the training that I would give somebody in their first hour with me if I was sitting them down and teaching them the basics of PvP. Because of that, I actually recommend that you don't try and watch it all the way through in one sitting. I would recommend that you pick out the sections that interest you and watch them, and then maybe come through and revisit the other ones at your own time, at your own pace. There's not going to be a lot of B-roll or cinematic shots. This is pure information from me to you, and I may revisit these topics again with more in-depth videos focusing just on them when I have a chance to better explain them, or maybe I have a partner or someone else I'm training to help me showcase these subjects. Okay, so here we are in free flight, and we're going to start by going into our settings. I'm going to go into game settings here, and we're going to turn off all of these top settings: the cinematic cameras, vibration, camera spring movement. I also turn off all the hints. I don't need those. Basically anything here that I don't need, I turn off. All right. We're going to scroll down to right about here for default flight. So I turn off automatic slowdown. Now, automatic slowdown is the thing that automatically slows down your ship when you lower your landing gear, because this doesn't only slow down your ship and put a speed limiter on your landing gear, it limits the G's that your ship can produce. I really don't like this because it also means you accidentally boost while you have your landing gear down. You cannot stop the ship. You won't have enough G's to slow the ship down, and it will cause crashes. Also, this leads you to fly at full speed with your landing gear down, so you can perform faster landings when you need to repair, rearm, or if you're just in the middle of a bad situation. We turn decoupled on to no. This will actually mean decoupled on yes. It is confusing, but no means that you will be in decoupled mode by default. Yes means you will be in coupled mode by default. So we set this to no. We will keep ESP on. ESP is enhanced stick precision. We're going to want this. Gravity composition? Yep. Wing composition? Yep. G-safe on? No. We turn off G-safe. That way we have the full boost available to our ship. The full G's available to our ship. Boost, simple G-safe. We can leave that on as yes, even though we have G-safe off anyways. No cruise mode. We want to turn off space brace enables boost, because we are going to be braking a lot when we are using decoupled mode, and we don't want it to use up our precious boost gauge unless we choose to. You should already have these buttons be separate, and you can just press them at the same time if you want to have a boosted brake. No speed limiter, no proximity assist, and this one especially, draw missing power from other pools when signing. No, this will mess up your power pretty bad. Now, as we scroll down, default advanced HUD and SEM, nav, labels, and course direction. I put all of these on as yes. We're going to come on down to VJoy. I have my VJoy set to always visible. This means even when I'm playing with a stick, you get to see my inputs. This is why a lot of people believe that I fly Hosam when I actually fly with Hosas. This means just in any recording, I get to see all my inputs for everything. So I get my strafe from the advanced HUD, and I get my right stick inputs from the VJoy. I actually have a pretty wide range too, so you get some fidelity on how far I'm pulling back. I have 19 degrees. This is purely just, you know, subjective, and this is just what I like. You don't need to do this. So if you're using Hosam or you're using mouse and keyboard, you may want to lower this value. This is the mouse dead zone. This is sort of how much of the middle of the screen will not respond to your movements. When I was playing Hosam for a little bit while I was waiting for my stuff to be fixed, I strongly disliked this default dead zone. So I would personally lower it, but it's up to you. This is an important one. The pilot velocity indicator, the TVI. You want this to be always on. By default, it's set to fading. All right, so we're going to scroll down a bit more now from the velocity indicator. We're going to come down to this section. So we are going to want to set precision lines to on. This just is something that I prefer. Once in this one you can turn off, but this helps you not only find the pip, but also it gives you sort of a general direction for the stance of the enemy ship, even if you aren't looking at their ship, because this will always be basically to that ship's left and right wings. So it will help you know basically the stance and the posture of the enemy ship, even if you're staring at the pip. Which you shouldn't always be, but you know, it's easy to get, you know, pip focused, right? I personally don't use lag pip. I used to, but right now in master modes, lead pip gives us so much information that I would strongly recommend that you train on lead pip, or at the very least, there are ways you can adapt this to lag, but lead it right now does appear to be the meta. We also don't want fading pips on. We want our pips all the time, even if they're dead center. We want to know where our pip is. It's hugely important. All right, so pilot look ahead. This is the feature that will turn your camera to look at whatever you have targeted. We turn this off, and we turn all of these strengths down to 0 in case anything goes funky with turning that off. You want all right, pilot look ahead. For some reason, there's two options here. I had one set off. I don't know why this one sets up that. I guess I'll turn that one to no as well. But yeah, either way, we don't want any look ahead. What look ahead is this the feature that will automatically sort of turn your camera whenever you are targeting something. You want to keep focus on your UI. Now, if you have head tracking, it's a different story, but we want our camera to be as stable and as flat as possible. So we're going to turn all of these look aheads all the way down, so that way it's not messing with our camera as we're trying to fight. I do the same for turrets and for driving. In G-force induced head movement, we turn that all the way down. After zoom, this one's really annoying. We turn that one down. Camera shake all the way down. Vehicle weapon recoil all the way down. This will give us a much more stable image to track our target in. We don't want any of this stuff. Is it immersive? Maybe, but is it useful in a fight? No. Then we're going to go over to audio, and we're going to go all the way down to the bottom here. Audio driven camera shake. Turn that all the way down. We don't want that. We don't need that. Turn that off. Yes. Now this is technically just personal preference, but this is the advanced hub. HUD, not hub. And as we go down over here to configuration, I can show you what the default hub looks like. So this is what we call like the dashboard HUD, and I really don't like it. It's really cluttered. It's really, close. Yes, it does give you a clearer front view, but I like having all the information I need laid out in this format. I have my decoys up here, my noise here. I get to see how my thrusters are firing. I get to see the G's that I'm pulling. This view gives you literally everything you need to fly and fly well, and I personally strongly prefer it. Though this is preference, once again, this is what you're looking at with the dashboard HUD. Take it your own preferences, but I really strongly prefer advanced HUD. This is the TVI. This is the velocity indicator, the trajectory and velocity indicator. Okay, so this is big. It's also called, like, there's a lot of things it's called. It's also like the total vector indicator and things like that. Either way, this shows you what direction your ship is moving. You also have the ATVI or anti-TVI, which is the same thing but with a little line through it, and this is showing you what direction you're traveling away from. All right, so this is behind you, and this is the direction you're going. This tool is incredibly important, and you want it to always be on. With fading, whenever it's near your crosshair, it goes away. And yes, you could say that, oh hey, it's a little cluttered, but in a fight, you're almost never going to be flying directly straight forward, or you shouldn't be. And so it's always going to be somewhere to the left, right, up, or down of you, and it's not going to get in the way, but it will dramatically help us when we are performing maneuvers. You want this set to always visible. Okay, let's go over the rest of the elements of the advanced HUD now that we know that this is what we want to use. So the important areas to look are, of course, up here, which tells you whether or not you're in SEM or nav mode and what sub mode you are in within those. This will help you if you're ever missing pips or things aren't shooting. This is just an important area to look. Next is here, which is your speed gauge. This is a really important thing to look at occasionally in combat, just so you know whether or not you're on the speed walls, which we will be talking about later in the video. Up here is your decoy and your noise count. So decoys will actually flare off missiles, and noise will break radar locks on you. Noise does not affect missiles. Don't use noise for missiles. They might do something against EM, but in general, no noise will just break radar locks of ships on you. This number next to them is how many you're going to be deploying. So if you actually do right Alt H, that number will go up, and when you press H to fire flares, you will fire that number quicker than if you were tapping it yourself. And this does matter. Typically in a light fighter you want 3, a medium fighter you want around 4, a heavy fighter you want around 6, and even more for bigger ships to help you flare off missiles in one go. So you can also do left Alt H to lower that number. I also recommend, if you have sticks, that you bind this to an easy to reach hat stick, because this will help you really quickly manage your decoys and stuff. You never want to deploy more than one noise at a time. Noise are incredibly valuable. Leave that one alone. Under that, we have our G meter. This shows you the current acceleration of the ship, agnostic of direction. Okay, so when we say a ship has 20 some G's, that means that's how fast it can accelerate. That's usually also applied to a direction, because how ships fly in Star Citizen is they have these maneuvering thrusters. You see them fire on the side there. So that's what happens when I pull to the side, is the nav thrusters on the right side of the ship fire to send us that way. Everything in how a ship flies right now in Star Citizen, before they add in things like control surfaces, is all based off of engine power. So you might have, with boost, 21 G's forward in your ship, 13 G's boosted to the side in your ship, 6 G's boosted reverse. Now that number doesn't really matter on its own. It's really just in reference to other G numbers where it matters. You can convert that to actual speeds per second, but you don't need to. You just need to know that's where your G's are, and so that will help you understand how quickly you're moving. Here is your afterburner. You have both a bar and a percentage. This is also a very important tool to manage mid-fight. I also want to briefly go over MFD layouts. So the first thing that I just want to make sure everyone knows about, this is pretty basic, but it's power management. You should always attempt to have your guns, engines, and shields fully powered in a fight. So right here, we are fully powered. Oh, but we have 1 pip remaining here. So the number of pips in the gun category relate to the number of guns on the ship and whether or not they require a large amount of power. So you can power all 3 ballistic guns if they are, say, Gatlings or Shredders, on with only 1 pip in power, but each laser weapon will require its own pip. It's not entirely a hard rule, but that's basically how it works. So just make sure you always have these maxed if you're going into a fight and you don't care about stealth. Now, another thing I personally do, because I have head tracking, I really dislike the MFD casts. They kind of get in my way. They're very out of the way. I want this full view available to me. So I will go to HUD and I will turn off MFD casts. Now, once again, this is kind of just because I have head tracking, because I can just look down and get the access to those other MFDs very quickly. But that is a personal preference that I have when it comes to my HUD. Okay, there's one more example I want to give you for the UI that I can't do on my own. And that, so we're taking a look at a recording of a fight that I have. So sorry that the quality is a little bit crunched. So this is a pause in. I'm attacking Commander Dempsey here. We're in Arena Commander, okay? So I want to show you guys, for crucial UI elements, these two numbers that appear under their name when you have them targeted. So first, on the left side, you have their distance. So this is the exact distance in this moment of your ship to theirs. Next to it, you have what is called the delta. The delta is the difference in your velocities. So right now, I am going 127 meters a second away from him because it is a negative delta. Now, if we look over here on the pad, on the MFD on the pad, you see a different velocity number than either of these numbers. This is his ship's velocity. He is currently traveling 233 meters per second. He's almost on the speed wall. So we're going to move a bit forward here as I push in closer and try to catch him using a bit of boost. Now if we pause, we're coming in very fast. We're now coming in at almost 400 meters a second. He's only 400 meters away. So just by looking at the screen, do you guys know what is about to happen to me? If you guessed I'm about to slingshot past him, you're right. So the delta is a very important tool. Combine that with your management of your speeds and your knowledge of speed walls. This is one tool that will help you immensely when you are attempting to close with a target. Manage your deltas. An ideal closing rate is about 200 meters a second. And when you're running, you want that rate as negative as possible. Okay, it's time to talk about coupled mode versus decoupled mode. This is something that is kind of obfuscated, and a lot of people kind of make it seem very arcane, or like you need to learn decoupled like it's some big thing. Decoupled is actually, in my opinion, much more intuitive than coupled mode for a flight game. Now, if you're very used to coupled, it might be scary. It might be a little bit unnerving, but I guarantee you, decoupled is not something that's hard to learn. It's something that's very simple and makes a lot of sense once you understand how ships fly in Star Citizen. Okay, so let's start off with explaining what coupled mode does. Coupled mode is the default state of your ship until you change those settings. It's basically where Star Citizen wants everyone to be. And what coupled mode means is basically whenever you remove input from a direction, it will attempt to return that energy you have going in that direction back to zero. I want to equate this to almost as if you're playing a regular first-person shooter game. Your W walks forward, and you let go, your guy stops walking. Now in Star Citizen, the ship has to brake, there's inertia there, but it's the same concept. You're basically, when you're in coupled mode, you're playing a first-person shooter. You aren't playing a flight game, because whenever you let go of your input, all your energy gets taken away. So this is bad for multiple reasons. One, you're often going to want to be matching the energy of your target. If you're in coupled mode, you will have a very hard time staying close to the person you're fighting, especially if they're in decoupled. And if you're in decoupled and they're in coupled, you will have a very easy time controlling the fight around them. Because once again, whenever they aren't in a direction, so let's say they're strafing to the side with you. Well, they reach the speed that they want and they let go. It's going to fully stop them. So if they want to like kind of match your speed, they're going to have to like tap it and very awkwardly modulate it, which is a lot of brain power. It's a lot of issues. It's really not easy. It's quite difficult actually to do anything. Now people like coupled mode because it's safe. You let go of the controls, the ship will not crash, assuming you're not already too late. But I want you to look right over here and just watch what coupled mode does. So I'm now pushing, right? So we're firing. It's as soon as I let go, it completely cancels that direction. So going back, going forward to cancel it. You notice how, because my engines on the front are so much stronger, we stop a lot quicker. Now all decoupled does is it just doesn't do that. Decoupled means if we apply forward input and then we let go, it's not going to stop us. It's not going to fire those forward thrusters, and we're just going to keep traveling and maintain our energy. That's all it is. All decoupled mode means is when you apply strafe inputs, forward, back, left, right, up, and down, you will maintain your energy. Now, energy from your turns, from the maneuvering thrusters, for turning your ship, does not affect this. So what if you wanted to stop? Do you need to perfectly counter your strafes in any direction, especially if you're like slightly to the side, No, you just need to press the X button. The X is your space brake that will do what coupled mode does, but you control it. So once again, I'm going to, kind of fly off in this angle here. And if I just press, let's say back strafe, we're not really stopping, we're just kind of changing our angle, right? If I press X, we will perfectly come to a complete stop. Now this is important because, like I said, this is a space game and we kind of have this concept of flight. Once you get used to the decoupled mode, this should feel just more natural. Like, oh, I have energy in a direction, I get to keep that energy. So another benefit, huge benefit of decoupled over coupled is it allows you to perform orbits with extreme ease. So we're going to take a look at the rim of the security post Korea station here. And so we have some energy going down, that's okay. I'm just going to look straight at the ring here. I'm going to get a little bit more lined up, and I'm just going to push straight forward. At this point, my hand is off my left stick. I'm not applying any strafe inputs. I'm going to just a little bit so we don't hit it, but you see right now, we're rolling around the station. We aren't going straight at it, even though I'm looking, nose on at it, and pulling up into it. And that's because where my thrusters were pointing a second ago aren't where they're pointing now. So I'm kind of always throwing energy sort of at this sort of angle away from the orbit. And I can pull up to get closer, which I'm not going to do because that's probably going to crash us here a little bit. We'll pull up a little bit. There we go. We can get really close. Now cancel out some of that momentum. But now look at what happens the second I turn on coupled mode. Turn it on in 3, 2, 1. No more inputs. Why did that happen? Because I was only holding direction in the forward direction. So because I had let go of any downward strafe, it's like, oh, he doesn't want to go down, cancel out that downward energy. It's incredibly hard to perform an orbit in coupled mode. And orbiting is a huge deal with fighting in Star Citizen. The binary circle is an orbit fight. That's where most skilled fighters will exist in a duel. They will be orbiting each other. So if I want to say try to perform the pull drill, which is where we try to orbit this drill as close as possible, in coupled mode, I have to always be applying some sort of down strafe. It's really choppy. I mean, it's doable, but it's really, you have to really focus on it. And you're always kind of, not able to smoothly stay up on there because it's canceling out your inputs. You aren't able to maintain any sort of, velocity because it wants to cancel it out if you don't have it perfectly set up. Whereas with decoupled, I can really easily just sort of sit here and then adjust my nose with my forward and back, and then when I like it, just keep it there. See how much smoother this is? So this is why you should learn how to fly decoupled, and really you should just get rid of coupled and not use it for anything. If you're going AFK, okay, turn coupled on because it will make sure your ship stops, right? If you're going to leave your ship, you can turn coupled on as a parking brake, right? But you can also just hold X and wait till your meters a second is 0, and that's the same thing. So as an Easter egg, another thing that the coupled mode allows you to do is have incredibly smooth landings, and they're really easy. So all you have to do is just, put a little bit of speed in your ship, just how much you're going, right? Just make sure you're not going too fast. Put your TVI on the pad where you want to land, and then just modulate your speed down with X. And here we can have a nice, smooth, crispy landing. And you can go fast, you can go slow like that. It is dramatically easier to have nice, clean landings when you're in decoupled versus coupled, because you actually can sort of maintain a slow speed without having to constantly be tapping your inputs. All you have to do is just, very mildly just tap your X when you want to slow down.
Landing complete.
There you go. Okay, so now that we've covered coupled mode and decoupled mode, we can start to learn some of the basic passive evasion tools that you need to use when you're entering and leaving fights. Passive evasion means you do these irrespective of what the enemy ship is doing to you. So we're going to start with the most famous and most basic one, and that is the corkscrew. The corkscrew and the next move we're going to teach should both be done when you're outside of 900 meters. Once you're in closer than that, you need to stop corkscrewing and start fighting. So to perform the corkscrew, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at Crusader and start flying towards it here. So we are in security post Korea, offline, free flight. Okay, we're going to take our TVI and we're going to put it off to one side of the planet. Now this is just for reference, this is just a drill. We're going to try to keep the TVI on that side of the planet as we then go to spin the ships. Now I typically have a habit of doing this in yaw a little bit. That slows down the corkscrew for my travel speed forward, but it does give me a little bit of extra deflection. So we're going to boost, go forward, and then roll. And our roll rate is going to directly correlate with keeping that pip as close to the edge and sort of where we started as possible. So mine isn't perfect here, but notice how its general position is staying really close to the same with where I'm going. So once again, what I'm doing is I'm boosting forward, I'm rolling, and I'm applying side and up strafe to keep that pip in that spot. The spot doesn't really matter. The farther away, the slower you're traveling, but the more deflection you're making. The closer in, the less deflection, but technically the faster in a forward line you will go. Once again, the exact distance from your crosshair does not really matter as much as making sure it stays in relatively the same place. It can have some wiggle to it, that's fine, but if you keep it in the same spot, I can even put some deflection out this way, right? You keep it roughly in the same spot, that's what will create the corkscrew. Now, why does this work? Why does this dodge fire? It's all about how the gunnery system in the game works. The gunnery is an instant tangent. It takes a look at in that exact moment, saying, hey, this ship is traveling in this direction. Your shots move this fast. If this ship keeps going in one straight direction, where do you need to aim to hit it? When you perform the corkscrew, you never reach your TVI. Your TVI always changes. You're never actually going to fly to where that TVI is. It's always going to be in a circle wider than the circle you are actually making. So if they shoot at your pip, they will never hit you, at least until you're close enough that this doesn't work. Now this is really hard to do on mouse and keyboard, so I'm going to attempt to do it on mouse and keyboard, but just understand that this is not a skill I've practiced a lot on mouse and keyboard ever since I got, actually I don't want my roll, there we go, all right, here we go. And so we're gonna go forward, boost, so I'll do a lot of taps and to keep pushing it off to the side, but I'm still kind of getting the rough effect. This will look that jerky. The pip will look as jerky as that TVI looked, but it will still perform the maneuver. This is one of the benefits that having a stick setup will give you, is you get these really nice, very smooth inputs because you have analog inputs. But once again, it is very doable on mouse and keyboard. I just haven't practiced it a whole lot. So once again, to reiterate one final time, a corkscrew is forward or back. Okay, forward. A little bit to the side to get off that, and then up, boost, and roll. And our goal is to keep the TVI in roughly the same spot. That TVI will act as our pip, orbiting around our ship as we never reach it. Now, our second maneuver is the circle strafe. It is very, very similar to the corkscrew, but the circle strafe does not have any forward or back movement. This is when you want to keep distance. You're engaging a stationary target like a turret, or a very slow ship that has its own turrets on it that you or have your relative speed already matched to, right? So we're gonna pretend that this Crusader dish is a big ship we are shooting. If we stand still here, we're going to blow up and die because it will shoot us. If we fly forward at it, we'll get closer, it will shoot us and kill us. Or we'll just be constantly yo-yoing around it. What we can do instead is do side strafe and then turn that into up strafe. And now we just look at this, doing a little bit of side and up strafe and just this. And we get to apply damage while also becoming evasive. It's the exact same concept as the corkscrew. Sometimes you need to have a little bit of forward and back input just to keep you in there. You can do this while boosting, just watch out because you're gonna have to swap directions whenever you start blacking out. But the circle strafe is, like I said, just a little bit of side input, a little bit of up input. You do it too fast, you'll very quickly go to blackout, right? And also, you want to create deflection. If you spin too quickly, you're not going anywhere. I'm not really moving anywhere, right? So you want these gentle rolls that are just enough to where them shooting at you, it becomes really hard for them to hit your pip, right? All right, so our next skill is merging. So we're in a public lobby for this. Merging is a good skill when joining a fight, going on to somebody, or in this case, third partying. So right now, if I was just to fly at this player here and boost towards them and try to just join this fight as quickly as possible, I'll very quickly have too much speed, and by the time I try to cancel it out, we're going to slip behind them and fall away again. A lot of players just keep boosting, going straight towards these people without ever actually closing because of this. And it becomes very hard for them to actually join the fight. So we're going to pretend we are on Eden's side here, and we're trying to attack Azel with them. All right, so as we're moving in, we're going to keep our closing rate to around 200 or below, and by doing that, we're going to just slowly work our way in, keeping that pip close to them when we can. And with that, we set at 500 there. It was still a little bit of a deep dive, but you can get in nice and close like this. Now, if we were actually third party in this fight, we could stay very close and apply a lot of damage. Now, the other type of merging is when you're far, far away. So we're going to pull off a bit here. And this is a nav merge. So nav merges are both easy and easy to get wrong. So we're going to push down towards him here. Very quickly, we're going to approach 1,000 meters a second. And we need to stop really about 3 and then decelerate back down to that comfortable under 200 meters a second mark and just slowly work our way in for that final bit. And if you can do that, you can very easily close, get up on them, and get close. So once again, 200 meters a second and under is the magic number for closing when you have a light fighter. If you're in a big, slower ship, you might struggle to reach that number, or if you're in a very, very fast ship, it might be hard to keep it. But in general, that's a number where you can have an ideal close without slingshotting behind them, because you'll be able to decelerate in time to actually catch and stay close. The final merge we have to talk about is the Delta merge. This is the most famous type of merge in the game. So in this instance, I'm being harassed by this Buccaneer who is third-partying my duel with another ship. The Buccaneer is very fast and has a very easy time getting away from the Gladius or other fighters because it is interceptor tuned. As you watch, it can just fly away from me. He uses these speeds to do these sort of little short bits of damage, come in and leave. The Delta merge means I'm looking at his Delta and slowing it down. So once again, the Delta is that number inside the brackets, and right now I'm full back strafe. As he's coming at me, I'm even using a bit of boost here, then rolling up strafing into it and staying with him and not letting him get a high speed away from me. That was what allowed me to get the kill. So once again, the Delta merge is done by back strafing as the opponent attacks you, slowing down their speed once again to that sort of more ideal turn rate, or really as slow as possible, and not letting them slingshot behind you. This is an important skill to learn when fighting interceptors, or really any ship that over manages its energy. If they're a noob who just constantly is using boost to fly directly at you, Delta merging and backstrafe will allow you to catch them and keep them in front of your guns. The pip shows the relative motion between the two ships. So if I start moving one way, the pip will move the opposite way, and same vice versa. If he starts moving some way, the pip will show me his motion. So go ahead and just strafe. Yep. So now if I want to stay with him, if I fly right now, if I fly straight, I'm not going to catch him because my vector's constantly changing and constantly pushing to the side. So I'm doing forward while looking right at his ship, and I am actually extending the pip. So instead what we want to do is strafe in the direction of the pip, or if using lag pip, strafe in the direction of your crosshair from the pip. So now I'm going to strafe to the right because he's moving this way from me, and now I've centralized it again. And so right now, if we both stop strafing, we're both decoupled, we'll keep moving in this direction, and the pip looks like it's just still on him, even though we're both moving. This is because our vectors are now centralized. So now if I press forward, I can get as close as I want. And as long as the pip is within this box, right there, I can push forward and I'll catch him. If the pip is outside the box, so go ahead and strafe again, Kyle. Alright, right now, no matter how much forward strafe I put right at him, even in this way, I'm not going to really catch him. I'm going to keep going away, unless if I'm looking directly at him right here, it's going to keep going farther and farther away. So what you will want to do is treat the pip as a direction that you always want to strafe into while you're winning the fight. So if you think you get better aim, if you're winning the fight, if you're feeling good about it, you always want to try and keep the pip as close to his ship as possible, because that means your vectors are neutralized. And when they're neutralized, your ship is actually going to be quite maneuverable. So let's neutralize the pip here, just right there in yaw. And now if I want to do little shoots to the side, I can do that. And the pip moves rather quickly. This is because we also aren't pinned on a speed wall, which we'll talk about in another video. Yeah, so that's pip neutralization. You always want to try to keep it as close to their ship as possible, unless you're trying to dodge fire or extend away. Because if you want to get farther away, you actually won't want to build that distance in the pip, and then you'll constantly swing farther away. So now that we know about centralizing and neutralizing the pip, we want to then now talk about how we position that pip around the ship that we are trying to fight. So we're going to go back to here where we were showing you the orbit from earlier, and we're saying how fights devolve into these orbits, into this binary circle where two ships are pointing at each other. I'm going to show you why that happens, and at least for most skilled fights, usually when you're fighting people who are newer or who are trying to be different, they won't fall into this and they'll just keep jousting you. But in general, this is where you will end up 9 times out of 10. Alright, so now we know that in general we want to strafe in the direction of the pip to neutralize our relative velocities to approach the ship, or really just to maintain close fighting. We always want to keep the pip close to them. However, if we keep it directly on them and we come in, we're going to crash into their ship. We're going to either go really close like that, or we're going to crash into the ship and die. Also, I mean, we don't always want to be using our side strafes like this. Look at how slow that is, right? Worse is when it's something, it's like, you know, it's up here and using your down strafe. Look at how slow that is. So we're going to do what now was called keeping the fight in pitch. So if we wanted to neutralize this, we would always roll, turn, and keep that pip above their ship. All right. Then we can use our much more powerful upstrafe. Remember when we were doing our G demonstrations, the upstrafe is our second strongest thruster, besides from our forward strafe. So whatever direction it goes, however they move their ship, however you move your ship, you keep that pip above them. If you push things to the side, you want to roll, keep that pip above them. ESP also affects here, because ESP likes it more when you are pitching up onto a ship. So that is the enhanced stick position. That's basically your aim assist, right? So you'll see it snap on really quickly there, versus over here, it's a little bit longer to snap on, right? So because we always want to put that pip just above them, what this naturally will do is create our orbit. So if they are matching us, they are going in as well, they will also help create this orbit. Of course, this is a dead ship. This is just a standard ship as an example. This is why fights devolve into the binary circle. So in a fight, you know you always want to be pitching up. If you notice your opponent is actually turning you in yaw, you want to take advantage of that. You want to keep turning with him and keep on his nose, keep on his side. This is called attacking the wing. And if you do that, you will always have a better turn rate than him if you are in pitch and he is in yaw. At that point, you want to get really close and you can really abuse him. So this sort of posture where your ship is perpendicular to his and you have the pip in pitch and above their ship, this posture right here is nearly perfect for a fight. Now, a good fighter won't let you do this. They will roll to match you to stay also in pitch. So it's typically when you are fighting somebody who knows what they're doing, you're going to be upside down to each other. So he'll be like this, so he's pitching up and you'll be pitching up into him. This is how most fights will devolve into. It's also because you have the best visibility in your cockpit above you. So now that we know to keep the fight in pitch and to roll with it, no matter how they move, how the pitch moves, how you change it, you always keep this pip right here in pitch. What we can then now start talking about is what is the rule of halves. And this is going to be a very short brief, but this is simply just a quick overview. You want to know the velocity of your weapons. So just for an example, CF repeaters have an 1800 meters per second velocity. So if I go all the way out to 1800 meters, and I fire, in 1 second I will get the hit, or I'll miss entirely because of the spread. Basically, the shots will take 1 second to travel. When you're doing a passive evasion, a circle strafe, a corkscrew, something like that, okay, you're going to be pretty hard to hit at those ranges. So with CF repeaters, you cut that distance in half. You go down to 900 meters, because that means now is a half second before I hit. So we're going to go to 900.
Friendly target.
So 900 meters and closer is when you start firing with CF repeaters. What about mantises, the current meta? With those guns, you would actually wait for 800 meters because those have a 1600 meters per second velocity. So with CF repeaters, you slightly outrange the mantises. With things like shredders that have a 1200 meters per second velocity, they have to wait until 600 before they're really effective. Anything slower than 1200 is in a really bad spot, and this is why you never see anybody running deadbolts in PvP. And even though all the PvE guys are like one deadbolts, they're amazing, those have a 900 meter per second, so a 450 meter effective range. That is incredibly close. That's knife fighting. You can't maintain that distance, and as soon as somebody realizes you're using slow cannons like that, they're just going to backstrafe, stay at distance, and not let you anywhere in close. Okay, so we're now going to talk about active evasion. Active evasion is something you can do when the pip is neutralized and you have nose authority. Now, I use nose authority as a term to refer to a few different things. I use it as a stat when referring to the ship's turn rate, but nose authority is something you can also win in a fight irrespective of the turn rates of your ship. You win nose authority by being the first ship to be nose on after a merge or after a cross. So here we're doing the duel this Scorpius. This is a ship that is very easy for the Gladius to get nose authority on because it's a heavy fighter versus a light fighter, so I have better stats. I have better general nose authority than him. So as I screw up, I should be able to keep that and to keep winning nose authority. So we do our merge. I'm already turning to come up and meet him. So because I am nose on and I'm engaging first, I'm able to basically now choose what happens. And so you see, as he fires back into me, he is reacting to my movement now. I'm already on him and he's trying to get onto me. This gives me the advantage where I can sort of lead him around. So I was rolling to the right, and now, as you see, I'm pushing left now to roll left. Once again, and then as he catches me, we change direction. So once again, in that little turn, we got on first. So now he's turning onto me. He has a lot of energy coming down this way. I know he's going to have energy dragging his nose towards my ship. and he has to overcome that energy to change direction. So I simply strafe in the direction away from him. So he was turning this way. I'm now going to strafe to the right, which is going to push me away from his shots. Now I'm over him. I'm over his nose, right? I have him locked in a right fight that I will win. So he's going to extend away, because that's what the Scorpius can do. But this is giving me free nose authority. He turns back in way too soon. He hasn't gained anything. All he's done is basically take a lot of damage here. So once I see him coming up on me, he's down here. He's coming up, he's coming onto me. So I'm doing a little bit of strafe up, and then I'm gonna roll, push to the side, get away from him, and just basically just keep his nose chasing my ship. So now we should, I believe, go to the left here now. Yep. And yes, he does still hit me, but I'm actively making him chase my ship. This is active evasion. This is called a nose juke. Now, if you lose nose authority, if you take longer to get onto their ship than they take to get onto your ship, suddenly now you are the chasing fighter, and you need to reverse that as quickly as possible. So like I said, right there, this was a perfect example of it. He was shooting me. I was rolling to the right. As soon as he caught me, I rolled to the left. Now, why am I rolling? I'm rolling because any left or right input will push the pip left or right, just in the opposite direction. So if I'm going to the left, the pip will move to the right. I have to roll to keep that pip in pitch. So you just work your way up close, get under his turn right. And so yeah, like I said, as we keep getting under him, he tries to extend away, which he does. It does work, but then he doesn't go far enough out. He doesn't truly reset the fight. So once again, you see how every time he's on me, I am just changing my direction. The only reason that works is because the pip is neutralized, and we aren't quite on the speed wall yet. We'll talk about the speed wall next, but if you're under 200 and basically under 250 meters a second, you have a chance to do these evasive maneuvers and to do it. But however, once you're locked on the speed wall, that gets worse. So let's talk about that next. Alright, it's time for our final lesson of this massive, incredibly long video. This is very hard for me to demonstrate without a friend here, so I will try to just explain it as best I can. In master modes, there exist speed walls. When you're not boosting, that speed wall in the Gladius is 226 meters per second. So right now I'm at the speed wall. I can't go any faster than this without entering boost, because boost changes the shape of your flight model. I do believe, we're just going to back up here, I do believe that this is symmetrical outside of boost. Yes. So when you're not boosting, your speed wall in every direction is 226 meters per second, really 225 in the Gladius. This is different for each ship, definitely different for interceptors. Alright, but basically the flight model is a perfect sphere in every direction when you aren't boosting. We're saying you can move at your max accelerations, at your max Gs, without boosting, until you reach that speed wall. So once again, I'm going to come to a full stop here, right? We use couple mode for that. We're at 0 Gs. Watch what happens to my G meter. Once again, the G meter is right here. We're going to accelerate forward. We're at 13.5 Gs, but then that goes down and kind of stops. We stop accelerating because we're stuck on the speed wall. In a fight, you want to exist under that 226 meters a second speed limit. Now why? If you boost, you can go way over that. You can go dramatically over that. Don't you? Isn't faster better? Well, it is. And faster speeds would be a boon to the entire game. However, we need to talk about what happens when you let go of boost, or when you run out. If I'm going to, so let's say right now I'm going to try to be evasive towards the dish like we were in the circle strafe, right? So as long as I'm under that speed wall, I actually have quite a bit of G's to play with. I can go 13 one way, 13 the other way. I can really quickly sort of change my angle. I got a lot of ability to really push my ship around. Okay, now if we're on the speed wall though, so we're gonna go on the back speed wall, and I'm gonna try left or right. I'm only getting 10 G's now left or right. What's going on? Well, I'm losing until I'm going perpendicular to myself. all the speed that would be going in that backwards direction is lost. That acceleration is lost because I'm stuck on that speed wall. So when I'm at max speed, my strafes are cut. Now it's even worse if I go over the speed wall. If you go over the speed wall with boost, it will drag you back down to that speed wall as quick as it can, and it will cut your other G's to do so. We're going to boost forward to our max speed right there. If I let go and now I attempt to do left or right, I'm only getting 4 G's of left and right deflection. I am not moving the ship left or right at all. So in a fight, that 226 meters per second is your speed limit. Even boosting, you just want that to just more quickly do your side strafes, your up strafes. You don't want that to really affect your overall speed in any one direction though. You want to stay slow in a fight, because as long as you're under that speed limit, you have acceleration to where you can very quickly snap your ship around. Slow speeds, fast accelerations is what you get in master modes. If you fight on the speed wall, it limits your ship's G output. So once again, just to demonstrate, we're going to go to maximum speed, 226. I'm going to go right strafe, left strafe. 10 G's is the maximum you can do. We're going to come back under that, right strafe, left strafe, 13 G's. You get more acceleration in every direction as long as you are under that speed wall. That's why having your speed there invisible is really important. This is a hard skill to learn, is one that is crucial to learn, especially if people who are bad at merging, who merge in too fast, or use too much afterburner to reach somebody, and then they're dragged down. They're going to join a fight and then be entirely unable to basically dodge their ship in any direction until they're back under the speed wall, which makes them a very easy target. Once again, this is a very hard thing to demonstrate without having another ship here. I'm doing my best. If you have any questions on speed walls, feel free to ask them in the comments down below. Last thing I want to talk about is ship exhaustion. So like I said, you get your best G's while you're boosting left and right, up, down. So that will give you your best evasion. In a fight, you'll be using your boost mostly in your strafes, not in your forward. And doing this will help you really get nice, tight, close, dangerous maneuvers like that where you kill yourself. But if you went out of boost, your ship becomes exhausted. Exhausted ships basically are just slower in every direction. You just lose a bunch of G's in every direction, right? So you don't ever want to fully run out of boost in a fight. You can't run very easily. You can't dodge fire very easily. It's a really bad time to be out of boost. What was even worse about being out of boost is when you are actually over your speed wall and then you're out of boost. Suddenly now you're in a very bad position. As it drags my speed back down, I can't do anything. I can't move my ship more than 4 G's left or right because we are in that exhausted ship state. So manage your boost. Don't let it get low. If it does, pull away, reset the fight, get distance, let your ship breathe for a moment, and then dive back in. Once again, even in the closest, fastest looking fights where people are knife fighting back and forth, they're probably staying under that speed limit and they're just close. So there it is, nearly an hour of flight tutorial training. This is all basic stuff though. This is all surface level. This is all kind of just getting started. There's a lot more to go into with each of these topics. There's a lot more depth to cover. But I figured making one mega video for the beginner's guide was better than doing 8 smaller videos all in a row. So hopefully you guys found this helpful. If you have any questions or criticisms, feel free to leave them down below. Like I said, I am only a journeyman PvP pilot, and maybe I explained something wrong or poorly, and you can correct me. That's totally fine to correct me. We are all here to learn. We are all here to get better. But if you enjoyed the video, thank you guys so much. If you watched this entire hour, holy crap, thank you. I can't believe you did that. Hopefully it was helpful. I really think most of you guys are probably just going to watch the individual sections that appeal to you, and that's totally okay. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I will be making more educational content, especially as I get better, as I expand my understanding of the game, and also simply to just expand on these topics more with their own dedicated video as I get better at editing and better at coordinating with people to actually help showcase these issues, not only from like my cockpit seat, but maybe from their side, or maybe even from the third person. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all had a good day. This is Citizen Cal reminding you, stay dangerous, pilot.